Hi everybody, so I think you'll just be joining the call now.
Hello.
Hi, so my name is Susanna Vosper and I'll be facilitating the session today with my colleague Liz McNeillie. I'm a speech and language therapist by profession and I've been working delivering PACT for about 13-14 years now, and iBASIS for about 7 or 8, supporting families and professionals to use the approach. I'm also an iBASIS and PACT trainer, so I train professionals and supervise them as they work towards accreditation. And I'm really passionate about helping infants and their families, young children and their families, find their voice and feel heard. So welcome to our webinar about a therapeutic journey for neurodivergent children. Like I said, I'm joined by my colleague Liz, so I'm just going to hand over now so Liz can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Liz McNeillie. I'm also a speech and language therapist working with Sue at impact. I'm a trainer and practitioner in the iBASIS and PACT programs, which we'll talk a little bit about today in the webinar.
Thanks, Liz, and I hope the rain's not too loud. It sounds quite loud in our room, so I hope that's not distracting. So welcome to you. I know it's a mixture of professionals and parents or carers who are here today. You're all very welcome. We hope that the content will be accessible and useful, whichever perspective you're coming from. And before we begin, just to let you know that we are recording today's session. The recording will be shared with you afterwards and will also be available on our website. So for anyone else who wanted to see the webinar, so you'll also be able to revisit any part of the session. So we'll have about 15 minutes at the end of the session for questions. Please feel free to add any questions into the chat. Our administrating team are here as well, Claire and Kelly, so they'll be checking for questions, and we'll come to those at the end of the presentation. And we'll aim obviously to answer as many questions as possible in the time we have. Really pleased to have you here today as part of this webinar series. The next session in the series will be around delivering PACT at home and school on June the 25th, and that will be presented by Sharon Sargent. So hopefully for those of you who are interested, you'll be able to join for that too. So let's move us on to Daisy. So I mentioned that myself and Liz deliver 2 therapeutic programs called iBASIS and PACT for neurodivergent children. And so for today's webinar, we really wanted to share the story of a little girl, Daisy, to give a family perspective of her therapeutic journey. And Daisy took part in the iBASIS program, which we'll tell you more about in a moment. So introducing Daisy, she's 2 years old. She lives with her mum, Rachel, and brother Harry. We've changed all the names for this presentation. Daisy can't use any words yet and finds it quite difficult to understand language. So she was an ideal child to work on the iBASIS program. Luckily, her mum is really tuned into her. Her mum knows her the best and makes sure that she has everything that she needs, and tunes into all her communications. So, you know, she loves cuddles and is a really responsive little girl.
So Daisy took part in an early neurodevelopmental pathway, and this pathway aimed to support children showing early signs of neurodiversity. And you can see the pathway here, it's quite small, but the starting point of the pathway involves health visitors completing a play-based assessment called the SACSAR with the child. And this is triggered when parents or professionals notice developmental differences. So as part of this pathway, the family's health visitor, Gemma, came to see them and explained to Rachel that she would be completing the play-based assessment with Daisy using the SACSAR tool. This identifies early differences in social communication. So in this assessment, Gemma was considering Daisy's use of gestures, eye gaze, response to her name, and ability to share attention during play. Gemma explained to Rachel that the iBASIS program would be really beneficial for Daisy. So Gemma told Rachel a bit more about iBASIS. She explained that it's a communication therapy program using video feedback, and asked for consent for filming these videos of Rachel and Daisy playing together, which would form the basis of the discussions in each session. She explained that iBASIS is really helpful for children like Daisy who are showing early developmental differences. Rachel was really excited to get started with iBASIS as she wanted to help Daisy to find communicating a little earlier, a little easier, and to be able to pick up on Daisy's more subtle ways of communicating. So here's just a little bit about iBASIS. iBASIS uses videos of the caregiver and baby playing together as the basis for discussion. So videos of Rachel and Daisy for this family. In each session, Rachel and her health visitor Gemma watched a video back of Daisy and Rachel playing together and noticed how Daisy liked to explore and connect with Rachel and all the helpful things that Rachel was already doing to support Daisy. So really noticing what Daisy really liked and what she was responding well to. In this way, iBASIS enhances communication and interaction between the parent and the baby, as the parent is really able to notice and respond sensitively to all the baby's subtle communication cues. And this builds back-forth exchanges and leads the baby to becoming a more confident communicator, so starting and responding to more interactions with their parents. And what we find is over time, the baby generalises these new skills to different settings and different people.
So you've heard a little bit about the iBASIS program and how it works. So with Daisy and her mum Rachel, all the sessions took place at their home. This is where Daisy is at her happiest with her mum and her brother. And Daisy loves sensory exploration. So being at home meant she had access to her trampoline, to her sensory tent, and lots of other sensory toys that her mum and granddad bought for her. So Daisy loved playing with Rachel, as her mum gave her lots of attention, which helped her to concentrate and stay engaged in her play. Like we said, Daisy's quite an active little girl. She likes to be moving or jumping around. So actually developing shared attention with her mum, the ability to share her focus with her mum, was a really big thing for her. This is Daisy playing with bubbles. It's one of her favourite games to play with, and it helps her to focus and share her attention with her mum alongside other activities. So through iBASIS, Daisy's mum and Gemma discussed lots of different topics and explored different types of play and interactions. In total, Gemma filmed Daisy and her mum for 7 sessions and had lots of chats and discussion with Rachel about understanding how Daisy liked to communicate, connect, and explore with her, supporting interaction in play with and without toys. So in iBASIS, we're interested in what makes it easier for children to play. So we were interested in what was going to help Daisy play most easily. And Gemma found that it was a mixture of bubbles, of songs and rhymes, as well as actual toys. Gemma also explored supporting communication in daily life, and how Daisy's signals could be recognised and interpreted by her mum. Sharing feelings is also really important and an important part of the iBASIS programme, because we know that we don't just communicate through our words, we communicate non-verbally, we communicate through our facial expressions, our tone of voice, our gestures. So sharing feelings was also a really big part of the programme, and looking for signs of Daisy being interested, being excited, being puzzled, how she shared her different emotional experience and how Rachel picked up on those signals and could respond to them. And I think that's a really nice part of the programme, that we work with parents so that not only are they able to interpret their child's feelings, but with Rachel and Daisy, Rachel was able to really think about how she responded to Daisy's emotions through her tone of voice, through what she said, through her own facial expressions, sometimes mirroring back Daisy's emotions or responding really empathetically if Daisy was finding something a little bit harder. And the iBASIS sessions also involve how you can support sounds and early words. So the sessions explored how Rachel could provide words that were linked to Daisy's interests and provide early words that would be easy for Daisy to process. But also if Daisy was vocalizing, so she wasn't yet using words, but if she was using her voice, how she could feel really powerful through her mum's responses to her. And we've talked, haven't we, about bubbles. This is a great context for Daisy to connect and share with her mum. So bubbles were used as well as other activities throughout the programme to really engage her and motivate her to want to play and share her feelings with her mum, her communication with her mum. So the programme went on for 5 to 6 months. Gemma saw Rachel and Daisy on a fortnightly basis. And before iBASIS, Daisy didn't make any sounds and wasn't sure how to use her body to communicate. But now at the end of iBASIS, she's interacting much more with her mum. She's able to initiate and start communication much more easily. And she's starting to find her voice and use more gesture. So even if that's initially through vocalizations, we know that this will help to build and hopefully turn into words over time, as well as all her non-verbal communication, her gestures, and her feeling powerful that she knows how to start communication with Rachel. Daisy also looks at Rachel much more often now, and this helps her understand how and what her mum is also communicating and helps them share feelings together and ideas. Daisy's mum fed back her experience of the iBASIS programme by saying, iBASIS was a blessing for me and Daisy. She's come on leaps and bounds. Over our time doing iBASIS, Daisy has been able to come out of her shell. She gives me cuddles, she engages with eye contact a lot more, and she's more vocal. Daisy's been able to go at her own pace more comfortably. As a mum, I cannot thank Gemma enough for bringing me and Daisy closer together in terms of her communication and relationship with more understanding. To be able to look back at footage and see how Daisy is developing and be able to think and do in Daisy's own little world has been amazing. And I think that really sums up the power of the programme, that how using video clips of them playing together was really helpful as a way of looking at what was working really well and what Rachel could build on to be able to really tune in to Daisy.
So we just wanted to share a short clip of an iBASIS session. So this first clip shows a little bit of play between baby Francis and his mum, and then we'll go on to look at a clip of some discussion with the therapist and Francis's mum about this.
So yeah, just to give you an idea of how iBASIS actually works in practice.
Oh, where's Francis? Where's Francis gone? Where's he gone? Where is he? We've lost him. We've lost Francis. There he is. Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Oh, where's Francis? Oh no. There he is. There he is.
So that was a lovely clip showing Francis interacting and engaging with his mum, and he was clearly really enjoying that and interacting and connecting with her in lots of different ways, and she was also responding and connecting back with him. So in this second clip, we'll look at how you can see how the therapist uses the video to support a discussion with mum and to really notice all these different ways that Francis is communicating and connecting with her.
Oh, where's Francis? Where's Francis gone? Where's he gone?
We need the next slide.
Sorry, here we go. there's his first turn, like we said. He cheekily looks up, holds up the cloth. And how did you so sensitively respond to him there, Verity?
I mean, I lifted up the cloth.
Yeah? And what do you do with your face and eyes?
Oh yeah, I look enthusiastic and like
when we're excited we go a bit wide-eyed, and you look quite wide-eyed, in again matching his excitement. So you're helping be a bit of a mirror to him of like, oh, this is fun, this is play, we're excited.
So we could see there how Sue, the therapist, asked a few questions and just looked at that clip with Mum and asked, how's Francis communicating here? What are you doing to connect? And then also discussed with Mum her responses, the things that she was doing without even realising, unconsciously with him to connect. So the way she was using her voice and her face, and how that was actually really supporting him to feel understood, to feel heard, and to learn about how to use his face and his voice to communicate as well. And we'll have a look at another clip now.
So this next clip shares another family's perspective of iBASIS, and this is a parent from Stockport. Yeah.
To me, it was the best thing that I could have got involved in with Hallie. When I first had my speech and language, when we got referred to it, I felt like with Hallie being the third baby, she was the one who I could communicate with least. So I felt like iBASIS just showed me a new way of learning Hallie's communication. It was the best thing that I could have ever got involved in. So we use it in our everyday life, really, throughout the whole day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That was really nice to hear that perspective from a different parent. So we've seen here a few different families' experience of iBASIS and kind of journey through iBASIS. So have the next slide, please. And so this is PACT. So iBASIS, which we've talked about so far, is suitable for children sort of under 20 months, and for children over 2. The new early years neurodevelopmental pathway also includes PACT, which is another video feedback based program. And like iBASIS, it really focuses on supporting parent-child interaction and support in order to support the child to really develop and flourish. And what we find with both of these approaches is by really supporting the parent to be able to support the child and notice all of the child's subtle signs, ways of communicating and communication preferences, that really allows the child to kind of flourish within those interactions and to develop their communication skills. And then we see the child over time taking the skills that they've developed within those one-to-one interactions with their parent and caregiver, and then using that in other settings and other places. So how this pathway works is it starts with the SACSAR, and when those early developmental differences are noticed in maybe in a standard health check, or when a parent might notice something, or the professional notices something, then we have the SACSAR, the play-based assessment tool, is used. And if developmental differences are noticed within that, then the child would be either offered iBASIS if they're under 2, or PACT if they're over 2. And then at the end of the programme, the practitioner working with them has had a really good opportunity to get to know the family, to get to know the child, and to be able to advise them on the best next steps, whether there's some other kind of support that might be needed for the family, or whether there might be kind of ongoing differences in sort of social communication that need some further support and assessment.
Thanks, Liz. So you've heard today the story of Daisy and Rachel. We've also shared with you a clip of the little baby Francis and how iBASIS works in practice. And we've shared some feedback from a parent about how they've used iBASIS and generalized it within their day-to-day lives. So just to conclude, really, both iBASIS and PACT are relationship-based approaches. So they really both focus on the interactional process. And we know that this process is really robust and evidence-based, because what we're promoting are the inherent developmental capacities of the baby and the child. So we are waiting and looking out for signs from the baby that they are signaling, they're initiating, and then we're looking at how the parent responds to that. So any moments where the baby's showing or the child's showing their own ideas is really encouraged and responded to by the parent. So there's no masking involved, because this is all about what comes from the baby and child. And it encourages emotional thinking and family involvement. So I really love iBASIS and PACT because they honour the family and parental psychology. We know that parents are the expert of their own child or children, but we're also following the child's intention. So it's a very child-centred approach, individualised to each child and family who takes part. And finally, I think the thing that I always see when it's working well is shared enjoyment. So that's something that parents and caregivers often report back to us, is that they're really enjoying their interactions with their children much more. And we see that from the child's point of view. And I think the reason for that is because the child is feeling really heard and seen and responded to, which surely is what we want for every child, every neurodivergent child and their family going forward. So thank you so much for listening to our webinar and joining us today. We're now at the stage where we can take some questions. We'll do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can. Just to remind you that this is being recorded. So if you want to revisit the webinar, you can do and share it with colleagues. We're also sharing the webinar series. There are other webinars going forward, so we hope that you might be able to join the other webinars in the series, the next one, like we said, being on the 25th of June. So we will move on now to questions, and I'll stop sharing the slideshow so that we can see all your faces. So please do feel free to either ask questions, or we'll have a look in the chat to see people's comments.
So I know that there's already been a few questions in the chat. So there was a question about the minimum age for iBASIS, which I have answered in the chat, but for anyone who's not seen it. So iBASIS can be used from the age of 6 months. Within this pathway, we work with children from 11 months. I'm sorry. We work with children from 11 months, which is because that's when the SACSAR tool is valid from and can be used from. But it is possible to support children younger than that with the iBASIS approach. There's also a couple of questions, Sue, about the key differences between PACT and iBASIS as well in the chat.
That's a really good question. So there are a few key differences. So there are some similarities and differences. So we mentioned the similarities, that they are both relationship-based approaches. So we're really interested in the dyad, the connections between the parent and the caregiver and the child. And we're also, another similarity is that both the approaches use video feedback. So they're parent-mediated, so the therapist or practitioner works with the parent and through the parent, if you like. So it's the parent interacting with their baby and using those play clips as a focus for discussion. In terms of the differences, the main difference are the video feedback tools that are used. So the discussion in iBASIS includes a number of different video feedback tools. In other words, the practitioner is using a range of different things to help the parent reflect on what they're seeing in the video. So, for example, we use something called reading the baby, which is really encouraging the parent to understand what the baby's experience is in that moment. We also look at something that we call a sensitivity chain, which is a back forth moment. So there are certain things that are kind of woven into the sessions, and each session in iBASIS is a particular theme. So in iBASIS, the first couple of sessions are really focused just on the baby and how the baby explores and connects. But from session 3 onwards, we're starting to look at the dyad. We're looking at the relationship between the baby and the parent, and then thinking about feelings, about how to generalize. So there are sort of set session themes. In PACT, the way that the practitioner feeds back with the parent is a little bit different. So it's much more through non-directive, a non-directive approach through questioning, asking the parents what they notice in the video. So that can be a really, really good way to help parents to reflect. So the slightly different video feedback styles. PACT is also for 2s and above, so it's for children aged 2 to 11. iBASIS is an infant programme, as Liz said, and we can work with infants from 6 months up to about 22 months.
And again, I can see there's another question in the chat, which is how would PACT work with an older child, 6 years old, who doesn't interact a lot but likes to do their own thing. So I'd say PACT would probably be really helpful, because a lot of what we think about in PACT is building those shared moments, and those moments of shared attention where the child and the adult are kind of connected and sharing something together, sharing an interest together. So something we really think about is what are the moments where we're really noticing those moments of connection and togetherness, and what might the reasons for that be? What is it that the child is really enjoying or really experiencing in those moments that's really allowing them to connect with their parent and to really enjoy that moment and that interaction? And also thinking about what are the things that the caregiver is doing that they might not even realise that they're doing in those moments that's really supporting that kind of connection and that shared attention.
Thanks, Liz. Anyone else got any questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much. We'll be sending a short feedback survey after the session. We'd really value your input because it shapes the sessions that we do in future and helps us find out what you're interested in. And as part of this ongoing series, like we said, our next webinar is on the 25th of June. So we'd really encourage you to join us for that session as well. Thank you again for being here and for your interest in PACT and iBASIS. We hope to see you at the next webinar.
Thanks.
Thank you.